Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Jamie from Made My Art and Design Experience. And today we're gonna do a funky, whimsical owl drawing, and we're gonna paint it with some really cool, bright colors. The materials that we need for this project are a pencil, a black marker, paint, and if you're going to use paint, you're gonna need water and brushes. Now, I recommend using tempera paint for this project. I like the texture of tempera paint, but if you don't have tempera paint at home, you can use watercolor, you can use crayons, colored pencils, or acrylic paint as well. So let's get started with our drawing. I'm going to start by using my black marker. That's so that you guys can see what I'm drawing. If you feel more comfortable, you can start with a pencil, but as always, I recommend drawing very lightly so that when it does come time to outline, we're able to erase our pencil marks, or if we're gonna paint over our pencil marks, you just don't really wanna see them afterward. The first step is to draw two circular eyes. You can either just wing this part, or you can find something circular in your home. For example, I have this condiment cup that I'm gonna trace an outline. If you don't have this, you could use a bottle cap, you can use a quarter, anything that you have that's a smaller circle you can use. So we're gonna start at the top, about a quarter of the page down. And we're gonna circle around for our eyes. So we got one, we're gonna two. So the next step is to draw the beak. We're gonna find the center of the eyes. We're gonna move our finger down just a little bit, and we're gonna draw a diamond shape. A diamond has 4 sides to it. So we're gonna start as if we were gonna draw a triangle, one diagonal line, one diagonal line. Instead of closing that at the bottom, we're gonna do the same lines, but upside down. Right? So we're gonna do the same thing on the bottom again, just to make the opening of the beak, except we're not gonna meet all the way down at the bottom. We're just gonna make one more V shape so that we have the opening of our mouth. We're gonna wanna trace an oval around it. So you're gonna find the edges of your beak. Maybe you can go a little bit lower if your beak is a little bit high, and we're gonna draw an oval shape around the eyes so that it looks like a little mask. There we go. So now we're gonna do the body. You're gonna draw a horizontal line right above the eyes and the beak, and you're gonna draw a diagonal line on either side. Starting with the left side, we're going to make a backwards J shape. So we're gonna go all the way down to about there. And we're gonna stop before we get too far up, because this is where our tail's gonna go. So on the other side, on the right side ear, we're gonna go down, and we're gonna leave a gap, about a 3 or 4 fingered gap. And this is where we're gonna draw our tail feathers. So we're just gonna go 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna connect it. All right, so now we're gonna draw our wing shape right next to the tail feathers. There are a couple of different ways that you can make the shape of the wing. I'm gonna teach you one way, but you can do it however you want, however feels good for you. So I'm going to draw an upside down U, like that. And then I'm going to draw 3 bumps. There. So there I have my wing. Now we have to draw the feet. So we're gonna do, again, 2 wider U's right on the bottom, or half circles. We're gonna connect them to the bottom of the owl body. Then we're gonna draw 2 parallel lines for the legs, and then we're gonna draw 3 pointed toes. And there's our owl. Now before we add the pupils or any of the details to the rest of this owl, we're gonna start coloring it in. So I've decided that I want to paint the inside of my owl blue. So I'm gonna start with that. We're gonna do the background last. So the way that I like to paint is by outlining and going around everything first. If I have a bigger space to fill in, I find that it's easier to do it this way so that I can kind of just go wild on the outside, filling the space in. And the good thing about tempera paint is that it's really forgiving. So once it dries, if I go over the lines or I go inside the lines, it's pretty easy to cover up any mistakes that we've made. So I'm gonna start by outlining that. I'm going to outline the body. And I'm gonna outline around the mask, and then I'm gonna fill it in. Now that I've filled in the body of the owl, if you haven't already, I want you to try and smooth out any bumpy lines. We don't want our paint to be too thick because then it'll take a while to dry. So if you want to make a mess, do it with your finger. If mom, dad say no, use your paintbrush. I'm just going to use my finger to smooth this out. And then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to fill in the rest of the areas. I would maybe recommend doing the mask, the beak, and then the eyes. You can either make each part of this beak the same color, or you could do 2 different colors. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. I'm gonna fast forward through so you can take a look, see what I'm doing. You can use your own colors. It's totally up to you. When you're done painting, if you haven't already, you can either wait for all of your paint to dry, or you can hit it with a blow dryer. And once it's dry, we're gonna add some decorative elements. So you can add lines, you can add dots, you can add feathers. This is where you're really gonna make your owl look kind of funky, and you can add whatever you want. I would recommend using a smaller brush to add these elements. And we're just gonna fill in anywhere on this owl where you wanna add something. Once you've added some decorations to your owl, we're going to work on the outside, the background of our owl. Now, I would recommend to you, while you're painting, blending 2 colors together without using your brush. So, for example, I decided that I want a green color for my background. So I'm gonna use a mix of this white, this blue, and this yellow. And doing the same thing I did last time, I'm gonna start outlining the edges by outlining the edges. And I'm not going to rinse my brush between colors. I'm just going to keep adding color to the brush so that we can get a fun, whimsical looking background. Now, if you go over your lines a little bit, don't worry, because once this whole thing is dry, we're gonna outline. I know that you guys are working with pencil lines right now, so if you can't see them, don't worry about that. We're gonna outline everything at the very end. We're almost done. If you haven't already blow dried your background, you can go ahead and do that now. I just wanted to show you guys one thing. Now, this is kind of a signature move. I always do this on my projects, but whenever I do a background that's like this, I like to add little streaks or lines or dots that are in the background. And they're kind of inconspicuous. That means they're not very important to the drawing, but you kind of just notice that they're there. I think it makes it a little bit more funky. You can add some more dots if you want to. My white is kind of sad. Now, our very last step here is to go over some of the lines that we already made. If your painting is still wet and you're using a Sharpie, this is probably not gonna work. If you're using a black crayon, probably work a little bit better. If you're using black paint and it's not totally dry, go for it. You just have to be mindful of smudging. I have a couple of spots that are, the dots take the longest to dry because they're the thickest, so I'm gonna see if I can get away with not smudging them while I outline. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna find the center of our eye and we're going to draw a pupil. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And then I'm going to do a little bit of outlining where I already outlined. If it's not perfect, like for example, I don't know if you can see, but some of that light blue is within the wing. Doesn't matter. I actually think it kind of looks a little bit more funky having it that way anyway. This is a little bit of an abstract project. If you've watched my tutorials over the last couple weeks, you can probably gather I like abstract art. So I'm gonna just do a line right on the bottom of these little feathers. Also, maybe you can tell that owls are my favorite animals. What's your favorite animal? Comment below. Now I don't think I'm gonna outline the body because I kind of like the way it looks to have the paint going over the edges. So maybe I'll just touch up this little foot right here. Okay, and the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna decide what it is that we wanna do to our eyes. You can leave your eyes like that. If you want, you can do some crisscross lines in here. You can add an eyelid at the top, and I think I'm gonna do that. So, I'm gonna do a curved line. I'm gonna color it in. You can't see very well with my color, but I'm gonna go over the top and I'm just gonna make some eyelashes coming out of the side. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So there we have it, a funky, whimsical owl. As always, the very, very last thing we do is we're gonna take our marker, we're gonna sign our name at the bottom and put the year, and we're all done. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. So please take pictures, you can email them to me, you can post them in the comments section below. It makes me so happy to see the art that everyone is making at home. So please keep making art, keep posting pictures, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye, everybody.